Lots to get through. Drama at Carlton, Hawthorn, Western Bulldogs, the AFL, Collingwood. Anyone else?
Carlton.
Well, I've said Carlton.
Oh, yeah, right. Performances too for Lexus, absolutely. Some great performances too. So we'll get to the good part as well.
Plenty to celebrate, but plenty to unpack. Yeah. Let's get into it. Tom Morris has been dominating as usual on 9 News tonight. Tom, let's go first of all. Charlie Curnow. Yeah. You reported tonight that he is interested in going to the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Ed.
What, for a holiday or
probably a bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
So Charlie Curnow's interest in moving to the Gold Coast Suns is almost entirely lifestyle related. He's got no issue with Carlton Football Club per se, but he's sick of living in the spotlight in Melbourne. He's sick of the pressure that comes with that as well. And he likes the idea of playing for the Suns. Now, crucially, Carlton knows this, and they've had to tell him and his management on a number of occasions that he's not for sale and not up for trade. So Graham Wright met with his management when the possibility...
Who's his management, by the way?
Robbie D'Orazio from Connor Sports Management.
Yep.
When Graham Wright met with his management, the possibility of a move north was floated. It was made clear that Curnow is a required player and he's contracted until 2029.
Tom, you just said that it's not. He didn't have a problem with Carlton.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rubbish. If he loved being at Carlton, he thought it was a great environment,
yeah,
he wanted to be there, then he would want
to
stay.
Well, if he sliced
it, you can't say I want to go and play at another club. Yeah, if you're really happy at your club.
Primarily, it's based on lifestyle and wanting to get out of the footy bubble.
Well, it'd be a nice lifestyle to live, and this is where Gold Coast could have done things better earlier, I reckon. They could have gone after surfers. He's a surfer, loves the West Coast down in Victoria.
Are you a professional footballer or a surfer?
Well, you could tie that in, I think, in the morning and then go do your profession after.
I just find that remarkable to say that he doesn't have a problem with Carlton.
I always like to join the dots on those things. Robbie D'Orazio, who's he got up in Gold Coast?
So he's got Ben King up on the Gold Coast.
So there you go.
Yeah, so Ben, I've done some digging on this as well.
Ben King would be pretty happy to have Curnow playing alongside him.
He would. Well, there's not room for King, for Reid and for Walter and for Curnow, clearly. Ben King is out of contract at the end of next year, where he's a free agent. He will be at the Gold Coast Suns next year. Beyond that, there's been no discussions already. So there's still a bit to play out here. Carlton are resolute. Charlie Curnow's not for sale, but... that doesn't stop the fact that he's open to a move up there, and many people around him, including people at the club, are aware of that. OK,
let's move on. Finn Maginness is an interesting story. There's been reports about Finn, who injured his kidney in the game down in Launceston on the weekend. Let me take you into this. There's a fair bit more to unpack on this. So it's an interesting one off the back of what happened last year with Christian Petrarca, because despite bumps in the road for Finn Maginness, everybody got this right. So this is one to celebrate, but also some lessons to take from it. So first of all, Finn copped a couple of knocks during the game, including a bit of friendly fire. There was no drama. Played out the game. Was really happy. Look, he's signing the balls there, high-fiving. Came in afterwards. Was pretty happy that he'd actually, played very well against Zach Butters. Chance to play through the final series. As he got into the room, he felt sore. His father, two-time premiership winning player Scott Maginness, and his mum Anna were there. Scott's a chiropractor, so he knows a little bit about things. He said to his son, look, you're feeling a bit sore, you're cold, go and have a shower, see how you feel. When he came out, he then said to the doctors, no, I feel OK and I'm right to fly home. The doctors, who are two of the best in the caper as well at Hawthorn, I just want to get the doctors' names here.
Andrew Jowett's one.
Dr Liam West is the head doctor, and Andrew Jowett, who's an old colleague of mine from Collingwood days, said, no, we're not going to take any risks whatsoever. Took him to the Launceston Hospital. He was in there. By this stage, the internal bleeding really started to go, to the point where I believe that he might have actually lost up to half his blood.
Wow.
In internal bleeding. By that stage, the Launceston Hospital realised they didn't have a doctor to perform the procedure required for a lacerated kidney. He was then airlifted, medevaced from Launceston at midnight to Hobart in a small plane that could only have one extra passenger, and that was taken up by his mum. Anna wasn't going to let anyone else get in there.
Fair enough.
Got there, they did the procedure. He's still in hospital in Hobart, and we wish you all the best, Finn. And I know Anna's down there watching the show tonight. But the whole situation here was it escalated, and everyone moved at the right time and made the right decisions all the way through. Now, there's a couple of things to unpack there. We've seen this a lot now, and I know last year during the Petrarca thing, I said, what we need to do is get the Players Association to get $40 million off the AFL. We have to get the stadia, and we have to get the AFL to make sure that there is enough medical procedure down there and medical equipment to be able to check for these internal injuries, which sometimes you don't know, and that's Dusty Martin.
So he lost 15 kilograms and couldn't train at all for 3 months after that.
Yeah, Petrarca, we know the story there. Go back to 1968, my old mate Sam Newman nearly died in the rooms at the MCG. Only the fact his sister was a nurse came down and he was urinating blood, as Finn Maginness was, which was the obvious telltale sign.
Yeah, well, Matthew Lloyd actually in 1996 ruptured his spleen. They sent him to hospital. The hospital actually sent him back to the hotel, said he was fine. The medical staff at Hawthorn should be congratulated, because if he had got on that plane back to Melbourne and had a real problem, anything could have happened.
So can I just wrap this up before we go into it?
Yeah.
The Maginness family are just beside themselves with joy with the care that they received from Hawthorn and the doctors. Hawthorn are wrapped with Launceston Hospital, even though they couldn't do the procedure, that they moved, and everything actually that happened was able to get there. And of course he's down in Hobart now, and finally he's resting. He had a shower today, I understand, so good on you, Finn. But he's out for the season, and he's out for a fair while. I mean, he's out until he actually is better. They believe they've got on top of the internal bleeding now, but there's a little bit...
But did they have the facilities available to them at the ground, and should they in future?
Well, they didn't have it at the hospital. It wasn't so much the facilities there, Tom. It was actually having the doctor who could do the procedure.
Yeah.
But I don't think any grounds at the moment have enough of the ultrasounds. I'm saying yes.
Yeah.
Because they're not that expensive, but it doesn't matter.
So the AFLPA and the AFL at the moment talking and reviewing the Petrarca situation 13 months ago.
Yeah, well, throw this one into...
And they still don't have a resolution on how to best move forward long term.
Thankfully, I mean, remember, the doctors are running around trying to get everyone ready for a 5-day break. Right, with one, he's all right, he walked off the ground, there's no problem, talks to his dad, goes for a shower, I don't want to whinge too much, I want to get home. Only that he said, I'm a bit sore, and the doctors said, right, OK, stop, we're going straight to hospital. It could have ended up a bit differently. Thank goodness, all clear. So a tick for everybody involved there. Well done to Hawthorn, well done to the doctors, well done to the 2 hospitals involved, well done to the Maginness's, well done to Finn for actually putting his hand up and saying, I think I'm a bit crook. Mind you, when you go to the toilet and you're urinating blood, it's probably a giveaway.
Fair sign.
But again, let's not let this crisis be wasted. We've got to get on top of this.
It's hard to know how much more the medical staff need. They do have ultrasounds in every medical room that you go into, so there is some equipment, but how much more do you need and what does that look like? I think that's a discussion the PA need to have with the AFL. OK, let's move on. Chris Grant was not at the big celebration for the Western Bulldogs, which to me, I'm really disappointed for everyone involved, and I don't care which way it goes on this situation, but Chris was one of the greatest players of the Dogs. Yeah. He also was right there when they saved the club, when he stuck with the club and didn't go to Port Adelaide when he was offered a king's ransom. He's had a fallout at the club. Yep. What's the situation?
So I was there last night and he was conspicuously absent. He was also absent in round 2 when the Western Bulldogs had their big gala. I think it was against Collingwood that game. At the MCG. I spoke to Chris Grant today. He was at pains to point out that he doesn't want to make this situation any worse or add any more information to it that needs to be added. But it's very clear that Chris Grant still feels wounded by his exit and his last 12 months at the Western Bulldogs. And this is a rough outline of what happened that led to his exit in late 2024. So in 2023, he conducted an internal review. One of the findings of that was to improve defence. He got player feedback. Rowan Smith, as a result of that, at Western Bulldogs great, was let go. Luke Beveridge was incensed at this, terribly unhappy that Rowan Smith, who he's very loyal to, was let go. And from that moment on, Beveridge and Grant had no relationship. Now, Peter Jackson came in, they had an external review. As part of that, what was made clear is the coach and the footy boss need to improve their relationship. That didn't happen. Matt Egan comes in, and Luke Beveridge, bizarrely, ends up reporting to him, while the rest of the coaches report to Chris Grant. And then in late 2024, Grant quits. So he's wounded, he's still really sad, he's really hurt, and this is one of those things that I think will take a long time to heal.
Does he want to come back to footy?
He would love to come back to football, and work at a football club, which I think is part of the reason why he doesn't want to pour any more hot water on this already very tense situation.
How did you feel going back to Collingwood after, I mean, not that it was acrimonious when you left, but there was still a few wounds going back, 6 weeks ago? Yeah,
well, I let it go. I mean, Jeff Brown used to invite me. I said, early on, mate, you're the new president, have your time, I don't want to come in and... I describe it as being you don't want to be the old boyfriend at the wedding. It's great to see you, but maybe not tonight. There is a bit of trepidation. I was at the footy for the second time on the weekend and walked in, and you do. You're still not quite sure. Made very welcome. Barry Carp couldn't have made me any.
Well, after the result, they don't want you back there, do they? After losing the career, you're the bad luck.
I started turning on people.
I have seen this across the competition for a while, and it's sad to see so many greats of footy clubs, either coaches or players, leave disgruntled after, I think, like a small period or a small chunk of their life at a footy club. Like Chris Grant's been there for so long.
He's a good football person. He was in that role for 8 years. The club essentially said, we're going to back Luke Beveridge, the coach, and what he wants over the football boss at the time.
Right, now, hang on, I want to ask you. You've got a reunion this week, haven't you, for 25 years?
Yep, Premiership 2000 reunion, yes.
OK. You're walking in... I've been told, right, that you said yes to go to the function, and now you found out it's at the President's.
Yes.
So it's a bit different. So that becomes a bit awkward for you. Can I ask you, have you repaired... the President's David Barham. Now you went for a job there. You didn't get it. What's the scenario? How are you feeling about going back to the Bombers on the 25th anniversary of one of the greatest premierships, of which you killed them and you're the captain of the team?
Yes, we only lost one game and with the greatest single season of any team. But look,
Chris Grant got you, by the way.
He did. Chris Grant. Look, and I'd just say what a great football person Chris Grant is. Obviously, I just can't wait to get back and see some of those old teammates. I mean, some you haven't seen for 10, 15 years, but 25 years goes very quickly. But there's disappointment when I didn't get the job, and I suppose that you always harbour a little bit of disappointment within you, but you've got to get over it. I mean, there's been so much go on between myself. There's some football club good and some not so good, that in the end you love the club and you love the place, and I can't wait to get back.
How would you approach Dave Barham if you saw him in person?
As I said, I've let things go. You let things go.
You've got to let it go.
Otherwise it burns you. And the fundamental thing is the Essendon Football Club is bigger than anybody. It's about the supporters, it's about the history of 150 years, about the premierships they've won, and we're one premiership in that 16, and we've got to celebrate that.
And I'm so glad you said that too, because you were there for such a long period of time. You're choosing not to let a little period or a little blimp in that timeline. You were there, and you're choosing to look at all the good that you've had there and all that success and that 12 memories.
Now I am, Rory.
It takes a while, though.
It does take a while.
But I've got to admit, I've tried to maintain my childlike love of the game, and particularly for the Maggies.
Yeah.
So when they run out, I still love it, and you've got to be able to... because you can become jaundiced pretty quickly. And, Kevin Bartlett notoriously was out of Richmond for a long time. I know that of other players who refuse to go back to a club until certain people are gone, all that sort of stuff. At some stage, for your own good, you're better just letting it go and getting back in. And
well, the only advice to Chris Grant is I actually know how he feels. You know how hurt you feel. But in the end, that footy club loves him. I mean, those supporters absolutely worship Chris Grant, one of the greatest players, the third best of...
Yeah, so last night it was EJ Whitten #1, Bont #2 and Chris Grant #3, which is why it's such a shame he wasn't there.
Yeah, but they love him. They love him, and they just want to see him and tell them how much they love him.
And his kids will want to be part of it.
That's right.
All that sort of stuff. Good luck, Chris. Find your own time to do it, but I hope that it all works out at some stage. Right, we're going to take a break. When we come back to today's players, Harley Reid is on the top of the pile. Bobby Hill.
Your man, Bobby Hill, Eddie.
I want to know what's going on there.
I'll tell you after the break.
He gets me going to the game, I can tell you.
I'm sure he does.
If he plays.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
We'll find out what's going on next. Welcome back to Footy Classified. Well, it's got to be at least 5 minutes since somebody asked about Harley Reid's contract. Yeah. What's going on?
So, OK, I'd like to add two things to Cal Toomey's report last night. So he said last night on Footy Classified, if you missed it, that Harley Reid's management have presented options to the West Coast Eagles, and the main option is that he would extend by 2 years with an option for a further 9 years, a lucrative deal. The Eagles are weighing it up. So... what I can add is two things. One, this is reaching the pointy end now. So Harley Reid, the West Coast Eagles next year, uncontracted. He'll either be there with an extension already sorted out, or he'll seek a trade this year. His management aren't going to put him through a situation like what Oscar Allen's going through this year, where he's got to be in a contract year in a two-team town with the pressure on him. So that's point one. Point two is that 2-year deal, which would be 2027 and 2028, that Cal reported last night. My understanding is that deal in 2 years is worth upwards of $4 million, so more than $2 million per year from 2027 and 2028.
He becomes the first $2 million man in football.
Well, if there's no one in 2026, then yes, he would. So that is what that 2-year block would be worth.
Did West Coast fall off their chair?
Right? They've got the money.
They've got the money, but at the moment they don't have the desire, because that has been put to the Eagles. Nick Geeshan met with the Eagles this morning and they haven't accepted that, so the conversations are continuing. I think Harley Reid wants to stay on that 2-year block with a 9-year option. It's just about West Coast coming to the table. To be fair, I mean, there's big money out there everywhere else. We all laugh at it now, but in 2027 and 2028, there might be more than one or two $2 million players in the league, and that's when that deal's for.
With fear of being the old man who's sitting here and saying, this just sounds crazy. Like, it's crazy money, isn't it? But I suppose it's market forces.
That's where it is.
And that's where the player contracts are going up and up. But would you pay it right now for him, the way he's playing? $2 million a year.
It's a lot of money.
There's not many.
But who else
people, I don't
paying
think.
big?
Well,
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you pay that money, you want to actually then bank a bit further down the track. I mean, he may go straight after that, right?
Yeah. So this is
I'm
the
not sure.
negotiation.
Yeah. I'm not sure because if you don't think you can keep him past that period, why are you keeping him? You're still in the rebuild phase. You're not going to get up the ladder. Rebuild around players that want to stay.
If you have Harley Reid in your club, you are more likely to attract other players to
But not if they know he's going to leave.
But they don't know that. I mean, he's making the noises that he'd like to stay. Otherwise, Nick Geeshan wouldn't have presented these options.
But then
to
why
West
not
Coast.
sign for longer? Why not sign for longer than just 2? If he legitimately wants to stay for the long term, be part of that rebuild, why not sign?
Well, the
for
option
5?
is that's why the option is there, just like what Josh Kelly had at the Giants.
The option's an option. It's not a watertight option. The option's actually a waste of time.
Well, yeah,
It's not. Josh Kelly
contractual.
did it.
No, but
Yeah,
he
legally
actually,
speaking.
legally, he actually decided he wanted to stay and wanted to be part of that. But I think unless you know that he wants to stay for the next build of the club, why are you keeping him?
it is. It's too risky. Way too risky. Especially when you could go out and maybe trade him and get some picks. And then pay a few more players and trade in a couple, maybe 3 or 4.
This is the most important contract negotiation that West Coast has had probably since Chris Judd left. Like, he is the face of this club moving forward. Surely you pay him what he deserves and what he wants.
Yeah, that is true. But if you're building a list, you're building a club, you're building a team to go forward and be the next premiership team, and the rest of the list knows that this guy is there for 2 years and may or may not do it, but the resources you need to put in developing players, in that it just seems short-sighted to keep a name so that they're seen to be doing the right thing, rather than actually putting a list in place that you know they're going to be there for, and players that want to be there. That's my view of it.
OK, what about Bobby Hill?
Bobby Hill. So he hasn't played AFL. Well, now it will be 5 weeks without an AFL game. He's been training on and off a little bit. My understanding is he's still a reasonable chance to play VFL this week, but he won't be playing AFL again. The club is working with him to make sure that he can get to training regularly, and that he can be there, that he can get his fitness up. If he does get through training later this week, I think there's a reasonable chance he plays against Frankston in the VFL on Saturday.
So what does he need to do to come back and play AFL?
He needs to
train.
He needs to train regularly and consistently and show that he's physically up to the level of AFL football.
So more so than games, more so than getting games in the VFL, he just needs to train consistently.
Yeah, I think if he played
rock up
VFL
and
this
be
week
there.
and he was there all next week, that he'd play AFL the week after.
Frankston on a Friday night is one
Saturday,
of the,
I think.
Saturday night is one of the joys. No, it is. The crowd down there are just sensational. They're very, very funny. What's the catalyst for him to stop being part of the club, stop playing? Is there something off field in terms of personally?
They've termed it personal reasons, so we'll keep it at that for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
OK, all right. Just one of the top end. There's a bit going on at commission level.
Ooh.
Now, we know this has all been bubbling around for a while, and, so Richard Goyder, my understanding is he wants to stay for another 3 years. OK?
I thought it was another 1 initially.
Just let me,
Sorry, Ed, sorry.
I'll tell you what I think. You can come back with yours. No, he wants to stay for 3, but he could be persuaded to have 1, all right, but he wants to stay for 3. Where it's going to get to in the next period of time, because the interviews are about to happen with the headhunters for a position on the commission. Now, at the moment, Craig Drummond's being pushed forward, David Koch, Jeff Brown has a lot of support at the clubs. But what we're going to find in the next bit is that somebody has to step up, because Richard Goyder is the only one who's saying, I'm staying. If somebody wants to step up, particularly to become the chairman, they're going to have to put themselves up. Now, a lot of people don't realise that 3 clubs can nominate somebody for an election. Now, that is the sort of Damocles that's hanging over everyone, just swaying in the breeze at the moment. Will somebody have the numbers, first of all, and go and force an election between Richard Goyder and a big-name person to take him on? Or is Richard Goyder going to be able to stare them all down and play on?
What would you, as a betting man, if you're a betting man, what would you think? Will one of the clubs do that?
I'm not betting. I'm telling you that's exactly where it is at the moment.
Right.
And
So there's a chance.
discussions are happening.
Is it delicate, Ed? Could it blow up?
Oh, it'll blow up.
Yeah.
It'll be a full-on election.
Are there clubs, can you say, are there clubs for Richard Gordon for clubs against Richard
Yes.
Gordon? Which ones are against?
No, I won't go into the details of them all, but I can tell you that there's, everyone's...
Which ones are for?
Everyone's doing the numbers.
Right.
Why does he want another 3 years when it was sort of widely considered that this would be his last term? Like, what... The AFL's in good shape. They've got a new CEO. Surely it's time to hand over to the next person.
But I suppose he might say, well, hand over to who? There's no one there.
Well, OK, yeah, that's fair.
So you've got to have an election. At some stage in this... I think what also happens in these situations is because the people are so high profile and generally in big jobs and directorships, no one wants to get knocked off.
So it's an ego thing.
No, it's a strategic thing. Don't worry about ego. Everyone's doing the right thing, but it's a strategic play. And now we've got at the top end of the AFL some of the most strategic players in Australian business plotting a course at the moment, and it's going to get very tasty.
Will Eddie Maguire be involved?
No.
Can I ask you the same question in a different way? Are the Victorian clubs for or against Richard Gordon?
No, I don't think there's a block.
There's not, OK.
No, I don't think there's a block. See, the other thing you've got to take into account with the AFL is that the AFL itself owns a fair number of the clubs. They own Adelaide, they own Port Adelaide, they own Gold Coast, Brisbane, Sydney.
They control North, St Kilda,
Melbourne. So there's so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Right.
So
you're saying those clubs wouldn't be able to vote independently?
No, I'm just saying that's a statement of fact.
You're not saying a lot.
Not saying much.
No, but I'm just instead of people get... I watch all the shows all the time. And there's a lot of opinion. Right, on this, I'm going to just deliver what's going on. And people could make their own minds up there because it's shifting sand.
Good.
But if there is somebody who wants to step up, there is an opportunity, and it has been checked that 3 clubs can nominate. And because what there is at the moment, there's almost like a nominations committee that's going to put this forward. And this has sort of grown over recent times. A lot of clubs don't realise, because I've been asked by clubs, how do you actually put people on? They go, you have a vote. The clubs decide who goes on.
Richard Gordon has set up his own nominations committee, though, hasn't he? Like
that he's actually sitting on at the moment to nominate whether he should be on. He's got one vote. No, but that's not going one way or the other on this sort of stuff. That's just what's going on, and it's starting to really build up. So if you reckon you guys have got some intrigue and some questions about it, you want to see what's going on at the top level of AFL clubs at the moment. We'll come back right after this.
25 minutes to make a 9.
Welcome back to Footy Classified, and Rory, 9 doesn't go into 8. We don't believe that one of the Hawks or the Bulldogs are going to make it. And the reason we're going to show you is why they're not going to make it. The Hawks will start with first. Their run home is very, very tough.
It is tough, and they're going to have to beat one of 3 top 8 or top 4 sides, really. I think the only one they can win is maybe Collingwood at the G. And they're going to have to win one of that, Adelaide or Brisbane, if they're going to want to make the 8.
Yeah, and to win those games, they're going to have to improve their midfield, their clearance work. I mean, their clearance work, their stoppage work isn't their strength. Their tackle differential around in the midfield, 14th, clearance differential, 16th, first possession differential, 13th, and first possession to clearance, 14th, aren't numbers of a midfield that's working really well together. Why do you think that is, Rory?
Look, for a few reasons. They are missing Will Day, which we'll touch on shortly, but it's a centre bounce work, I think, that needs to tighten up. They started the year really strong in this area, but they've just let themselves go with teams running out the front of the stoppages. And they need to be a really good score from stoppage team if you want to be a top 8 side and you want to contend in finals. And at the moment, teams are coming out a bit too easy.
Yeah, well, I think particularly in finals, you need to have your stoppage work really well. And if you look at the way they can score from turnover, it's fantastic. But there's all the talk about Will Day coming back into the team this week, and we really hope he's done. He's been out with his navicular for at least 3 months. But points with and without Will Day, it's a considerable difference. We're not expecting a guy who's been out for 3 months to come and have a huge benefit, but they're going to need him if they're going to firstly make the finals and have a big say in the finals.
And he's back. He's been knocking Sammy Mitchell's door and he's been annoying him and pestering the last couple of weeks. So when the player comes in and does that, that means they're ready. But it's his leg drive, and I think we speak about this a lot on this show, is leg drive to get out of stoppages, to give you those shoulders out look, which means you're not pressured from the front. You can get those entries to the smaller forwards, because they've got a bit of a smaller mix that loves getting that ball out in front, not quite dumped on the head, and that's what Will Day brings.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the small forwards, because small forwards need first possession out of clearances. They need really good ball use. What Hawthorn have been good at is getting the ball from the back half into the forward half and scoring. You look at the players in Amon, Weddle, Sicily, Impey. They're all in the top 20 for defender score involvements. It's a real strength of the Hawks, but they're going to need to improve it even more. if they're going to get to the finals.
They are, and that's the way they set up. They intercept well, they transition really well from half-back, and especially their D50, they transition exceptionally well. But they've got the runners, as you just mentioned, they can use, and they want to get into that forward line either on the ground or low out in front for guys like Wizard, Ginnivan, Jack Gunston. These guys are all those lead-up players which we spoke about, and they're damaging when that ball comes in quick and fast.
All phases of the game have to be working to make the finals and to be successful. We believe the Hawks, to win those 3 games they need to win, have to be very good out of clearances around stoppages and continue to be good in their turnover game and get the ball into their forwards, because they're not a big, tall marking forward team. Their forwards need really good ball use. The other team who we think may or may not make it is the Bulldogs. The talent in the Bulldogs midfield is exceptional, and we've loved watching the Bulldogs, but this is their run home. It's a very good run home, but they need to beat either one of the Giants or the Dockers, both at Marvel Stadium, which is going to make it easier for them. But the way the Giants have been playing against top 8 teams is exceptional, and we saw what the Dockers did on Sunday against the Pies.
And what teams are coming in with a set game plan against the Dogs is to be able to run, explode out of, I think you call it the bubble.
Yeah,
the phone
get
box.
the ball out of the bubble as quickly as you can.
Yep, so run and carry and drive your legs. And I spoke about shoulders out before, but this is what it looks like. It means driving out, you get these exits where you can hit up your forwards much easier, and you get those chaos balls, but you want to come out and you want to break their pressure, because Bulldogs' pressure is outstanding, and if you can break that little bubble and get out on the outside of them, Hurdy, that's when
this is the one here where Starfish gets it very quickly out of that midfield area to get it out of that bubble to really put the Western Bulldogs defenders under pressure, because the Bulldogs don't have the really tight defenders that the other teams have.
No, and they rely on high pressure around the ball to get those jack kicks up to their defenders that are set up and come off their man. And so when teams get out like this and get these sort of entries, it means their defenders have to defend one-on-one, and other teams are exposing that at the moment.
And the way they're copying up scores from turnover, I think, is really concerning. And that's a lot about the way they use the ball as well, particularly against the really good teams. You look at their season average of 45.6. I think it puts them about 9th in terms of scores from turnover. Look at those scores from the really good teams. That's increased to 61 against Brisbane, 74 against Adelaide, who really went to town on them. The Cats are 70, Gold Coast 73. If they don't improve, that's a big amount of score against turnover. And, you know, if you're getting 80, 90 points kicked against you in finals, you normally lose the game.
Well, unfortunately, teams are speaking about this now, and I know the Crows had a massive focus on that particular area going into that game, was how quick can they go off turnover and how quick can they expose their lack of transition, that period of time when they go from offence to defence. So, yeah, it's a key area for teams that they're going to keep challenging them in.
It's going to be a very, very good team that misses the finals this year. I think it's the best team that's probably missed the finals in a long time. We've all done our ladder predictors, moved them up and down, taken it. Who misses out for you?
I've changed mine week to week. I said Freo the other week. Freo are in now. I think Doggies might just miss.
I'm actually going to go the Hawks. I think those 3 games they play against Collingwood, Adelaide and Brisbane are very big games, and they'll drop at least one of them, I think.
Hey, Sloaney, 2 weeks ago you said the Dockers were overachieving if they make the 8. Do you still believe that?
Absolutely. And haven't you flipped on the Dockers a little bit, maybe? Justin Longmuir now?
This is exactly where they should be.
No, well, but I don't think they should be there, but they're exceeding expectations on my behalf from a list demographic and a player profile and experience. They're performing outstandingly. And that win on the weekend, I think, gave them the belief against, I think, arguably the best and most organised side in the comp to go, we can challenge the best in finals now. As a young side, that's going to be exciting for years to come.
It's crazy to think that the team that's currently in 5th is going to miss the finals, but the closest to that bottom half of the 8 means that the Hawks may just miss out.
And what we love about this, we're talking about teams that are playing and hope springs eternal.
Yes.
It hasn't been for a lot of the competition for too long this season. There's something like, what do you reckon, about 6, 7, 8 teams have been out of business for about the last 2 months. So after the break, we're going to have a crack at a different fixture, OK? Now, you can start complaining and hating and do all that. That's no problem. It's not going to affect me, I can tell you. But we're going to put an idea out there that tries to get more players, more crowd, more ratings, more money, but at the same time keeps everybody up on their toes. We'll have a look at it afterwards. You can go hateful afterwards. We're happy to take everything you've got. We'll have a crack next. Welcome back to Footy Classified as we have a good look at the fixture. The major disappointment at this time of the year is supporters being disgruntled, dud games in prime time games, lack of revenue, crowds not turning up. So what is the answer? In the spirit of Greg Swan's common sense approach to the rules of the game and the way that it is played, Footy Classified has decided to have a look at an alternative draw that takes the fix out of the fixture. At the moment, there are so many compromises and deals within deals with stadia, media sponsorships, memberships, all those things, that it is one of the more complicated assignments in sport. Obviously, the most even result is to play each team once or twice and have a final series. Makes sense. However, to pay the bills, the AFL's target is 216 games per year, and neither of those options work. So our assignment, guys, is to come up with a season as fair as possible to find the premiership team while making every game count in the quest for the flag, excitement aplenty while keeping it simple. That's the key. All right. The AFL floated a competition within a competition the other week. Others speak of wildcard rounds. We've come up with a concept that takes some of these elements and still looks like an AFL season. Our objective, a fair competition where every game counts, integrity is paramount, hope springs eternal, maximising attendance, media value and profit. So here goes. My plan is to break the season into 3 parts. The home and away season, the qualifying rounds and the final 8. So first, the home and away season. This would see every team play each other once. That's 17 games. There would be 4 exotic rounds, guys, what I'm calling exotic rounds. So I would start with round 1. After a long season, all Victorian teams would play each other. In a nod to state of origin, the South Australian teams would play WA teams and New South Wales would play Queensland teams. Now, why that? Because this would then allow the non-Victorian teams to also have 2 local rivalry rounds against their cross-town rivals, maximum interest, stadium deals fulfilled, ratings assured. A supporter's dream. The 4th exotic would be gather round in South Australia. So after 21 rounds, the ladder would be set for the qualifying rounds. At the moment, 10 teams can mathematically make the finals as we stand in this season, with 5 weeks to go. But it's basically been like that for weeks. Under this plan, 17 teams would still be playing to stay alive this weekend. So let's get into the minutiae. Using the current ladder, at the end of the home and away season, the 2 bottom teams are out of the premiership contention. They would play each other, so they keep playing until we get to the final 8. The last 16 is then split into 2 groups of 8. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 and 15 in one 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 and 16 in the other. Over the next 2 weeks, teams then qualify for the final 8. On this week's ladder, here's how it would look. Now imagine this, guys, being the run home. 2 teams are eliminated each week. They are relegated to then playing against themselves so that they can play the kids, have a chance to win and sing the song, even have a way of playing out the season for draft picks if you want to get funky. But the main focus is on winning and the dream of a premiership. OK, so let's have a look. The 2 top 4 teams receive the double chance. The top 2 winning teams, week 1, receive a week 2 bye. So there's an absolute incentive to be in the top team. And then you progress directly to the finals. Everyone else is then playing sudden death football. 16 teams end up being a final 8. Basically, instead of having a season where it's all over, up to 8 teams by the halfway mark, everyone is a chance and you are extending the finals literally by 2 weeks. There is a distinct advantage for teams who finished highest on the ladder and the hope of a miracle run for those who don't. Importantly, teams that are out of contention don't skew the final 8 as they currently do, OK? And tanking and the issue of integrity is absolutely underlined. The draw would be over 2 years to balance home and away privileges. This adds up to 214 games, 2 short of what we have now, except all of them would mean something and the schedule would have at least 3 opportunities, guys, 3 opportunities to reset for maximum commercial and television outcomes. The end of season bye would also go. Northern states marketing games would be fixtured mid-season to fit the weather and school holidays during the split rounds, and all marquee games as we know them now, from Anzac Day to Easter Monday, etc., King's Birthday, would remain. Discuss. What do you reckon?
It's a cracking idea, Ed.
Wow.
We actually talked about it this morning and we took it into the Port Melbourne Footy Club just to talk about it with the coaches, and Mark Murphy and I were running through it, what would happen, how this would happen, and we couldn't find fault with it. And I just think what it does, we all acknowledge that at the moment the season is dead really, except for a few odd games. It really adds excitement to the season, Rory. I just think it's got to, look, have to be worked through a couple of things out. I'm not sure where the bugbear's at, but on first view, that is a fantastic idea.
So the Port Melbourne boys understood it at first glance, because it took me a little while to understand it, but that was brilliant, mate. And you're full of ideas. But for me, and for interstate teams in particular, like fixing the fixture equality is a huge issue. And if you can fix that and keep games more exciting this time of the year, tick, tick for me.
Ed, can I ask, so you said sudden death. So at the moment we've got the top 4 who get double chances.
Yeah.
Would the top 4 get double chances again here?
So they get double
That stays the
chances.
same.
Yeah.
The top 8 get double chances.
They go right the way through, right? The top 8 get a double chance in the qualifying.
Yep.
And then when you get to the top 8 for the finals, it goes back to what it is now. So you get another double chance there to get through. So if you're in the top 8, in the top 4, you're actually in pole position to be able to get to the finals. The key to this is that every game means something, and even the teams, when they get knocked out, they're still playing, but you can go to a game. Now, if you're West Coast, you don't want to be going to Brisbane to play in the next few weeks, do you? You get killed, but you'd like to play North Melbourne and battle against them and see how you're going. So the whole idea is that it keeps going. And the other thing, I spoke to the AFL late today, I spoke to Andrew Dillon, just to see whether or not this would work as far as the stadium deals are concerned. And he said, yeah, he thinks that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And it is something that they will look at.
Well, go back to that qualifying round 1 graphic if we can, and look at the two teams that are really copping all the criticism for their Thursday and Friday night games at the moment, Carlton and Essendon. What a cracking final that would be. Gives those two teams something to play for, gives those supporters a reason to go along. You don't have those bad crowds. The Sydney-Richmond final is a cracker as well. Teams that you wouldn't even think about, bring them back, keeping them a reason for the play all through the season, and actually giving the kids a good run, but also supporters, enjoy going.
Absolutely, and it's like a seeding round. It's almost like a seeding round for your finals to get it set up for as big a finals campaign as possible.
Eddie, it would be considered quite radical to change the season like this. I love it. It gives games more context. It gives it jeopardy. Do you think there's an appetite at AFL House to make such radical changes to the way the season's structured?
Well, in a lot of ways, Tom, it became radical once we didn't play each other twice.
Yep.
So we've sort of...
When was that? When we had 12 teams?
Well, it was 12 teams and then it moved. So what this does is it gives you a fair go. It keeps everybody in play as long as possible. The top teams are still the top teams. They get the best run at it. Like a seeding at the Australian Open tennis and things like that. You number 1 seed, you get the best crack. But it also does give that chance for supporters to still want to turn up at the football to barrack for their team. And as I said, even for the teams that are at the bottom of the ladder, in the last month of football, they're still playing for something, playing for pride, playing for the joy of winning, playing for coaches' careers, players' careers, etc.
You string it together for a good month or two, you'd be in with a crack.
And the AFL is going to change it. They're going to change what it is now. In 5 years, it won't be what it is now. And this, to me, is better than a wild card round. People understand it, and it's unique to Australia.
And no opening round, Ed.
No, well, what we do is I'd put what is now the northern, as I said, the northern marketing. There's no point playing it. There's another season in Australia. It's called cyclone season. Right? Don't play it there. Play it in the middle of the year where everybody wants to go north.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
And you do it as a tourism round. Because you'll have split rounds during the course of the season still, because that's what is in the collective bargaining agreement. But you do it so that every game actually counts. You maximise the money. You make it exciting for everybody. I always think of these things through the lens of a 12-year-old boy or girl going and watch the game. Kids who actually understand the game, but they still love the excitement of it all. You want to be able to go as long as possible with hope in your heart that a miracle can happen.
Love it, Ed. Well done.
That's the biggest thing in football, is selling hope.